Hey, brothers and sisters. So, I previously shared information on what happened in Mali between the rebel forces and rebel forces. You can call them the T world if you want to. But I did share information on them ambushing the Wagner forces, basically. And I did explain that there were Ukrainians instructors between these forces. Okay, obviously the Malian government consider these forces like terrorist forces because they are terrorizing the population and taking over certain territories. But it seems like Ukrainian instructors that were part of this raid. Now, the Ukrainians have denied these claims. However, one of the ministers went publicly on Twitter, or now called X, basically praising the Ukrainian instructors that took part of this ambush. It seems like the Ukrainians have been training these separatists, or whatever you want to call them, troops in drone operations, so helping them to understand how to use the drones effectively against the Malian troops and the Russian troops. We've seen pictures and videos of these separatists basically attacking the Malian troops, attacking civilians, and causing a lot of damage to Mali. Okay, and these are scenes that obviously the Malians and many African countries don't want to see in the countries. However, after the involvement of Ukraine, which, as I say, they did deny publicly, but then one of the ministers even shared pictures of the Ukrainian instructors among these Malian separatists. Okay, so the Malian government has cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine after this. And other African countries and government have also cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine, or they're thinking about it, or they have openly criticized Ukraine for the support to these rebel forces. Now, we know that the Western countries have been in Mali for decades, for a decade at least, supporting the former Malian government with the task of ending the terrorist threat in the north region of Kidal and other regions in the northern part of Mali. However, they're completely unsuccessful at doing this. There were reports from certain individuals, locals, that they've seen certain Western instructors supporting these rebels. Now we have at least photographic evidence that shows that a country that is 100% supported by the West, which is Ukraine, is taking part of these attacks. Attacks directed to the current Malian government. Attacks directed to the Malian citizens, to the Malian population. So that's the main reason why Mali decided to cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine, because they are supporting, at least training, these rebel troops in order to overthrow the government or cause mayhem all over the northern part of Mali. Obviously, a democratic country shouldn't be involved in these kind of actions. And obviously, Ukraine is not the only one, it's not the first one that has been involved in these kind of actions against African governments and African countries. So, let's see what's going to happen. But it's really interesting the fact that Ukrainians are willing to travel all the way to Africa in order to continue fighting the Russians. Wherever there is a Russian, is going to be an Ukrainian fighting against them, apparently. And also, it's interesting the fact that the West is supporting Ukraine in the war against Russia, where, according to the main version, according to the main narrative, they have been attacked by Russia and they are defending the territory. But now it seems like they're also using them as some kind of military contractors around the world, because we've seen them in other countries in Africa as well. We see them in Sudan as well. Okay, when the conflict broke out, the very early stages, right? So now they've been used, it seems, as a mercenary force in different conflicts in different parts of the world, mainly where there are Russian contractors or Russian soldiers present, which is really worrying because we're talking here about a democratic country. If you agree with that, if you agree that Ukraine is democratic, because many people might think it's not, because Zelensky is holding power without elections. He just decided to stay in power, okay, because there's a war going on, and he thinks that he's the most suited person to direct his country. So it's just weird, the fact that Ukrainians are also accepting this kind of role within the Western objectives at the international level, right? Because let's remember, the current Malian government is not a friend of the Western countries, because they took power through a coup d'etat, which was supported by the population and which the population wanted to happen. And since they took power through this coup d'etat, the situation in Mali is improving economically. However, when it comes to these issues in the north, although they had neutralized many of these terrorist threat from the north, you still have some pockets of these terrorists in these regions which they continue attacking, as you can see, the Malian troops and also the Russian contractors. So I just wanted to explain this situation to you because I think it's important. It's an important development when it comes to the relationship between countries, when you have a country, a state, a recognized state supporting a non-state actor to take aggressive actions against that government and their population. So let's see what's going to happen. Let's see if there are more African countries that are going to join Mali in order to denounce the actions of the Ukrainian instructors or the Ukrainian government. So I'll continue informing you.